Hello P6 pupils, welcome to our third last video on PSLE Science syllabus. Now today we're going to learn about food chain and food web. If you have not watched the video on factors affecting the environment, please go and watch it. So, it's a continuation of related topics. Now let's see what are the questions that we'll be discussing about. Now questions to think about. Number one. What is the source of energy? When we say source, means where did the energy come from? So later we're going to talk about different organisms. Where do they get their energy from? Okay? What are the roles of various organisms? Basically, we are talking about prey, we are talking about predators. You learned this term before. And what is a food chain and food web? Today's main topic is on this. Okay? Now, energy from the sun. All living things depend directly or indirectly on the sun for energy. Now, for all animals, they depend on the sun for energy indirectly. Remember, we can't make our own food, so we can't depend on the light, okay, from the sun directly. But the plants can. So plants get this energy directly from the sun. Plants need light from the sun to make food through photosynthesis. We learned this during photosynthesis topic. So remember, recall your equation for photosynthesis where we learned back in January. Some animals get their energy from these plants. For example, if we are talking about chicken, for example, chicken gets their food from, for example, rice grains. Rice grain come from plant parts. So obviously, chicken gets its energy from the plants. Other animals get their energy from eating these plant-eating animals. For example, tiger. If tiger eats the chicken, they get the energy from the chicken. Right now, okay? Without the sun, life cannot exist because you see, if there is no sunlight, plants can't make food. Chicken can't eat the rice grain because there's no food being produced. And tiger cannot eat the chicken because there is no more chicken left. Now we're going to talk about the word producer. As the word suggests, producer means organisms that make food. They produce food. So the only organism that can produce food is plants. Plants are the only organism that can use energy from the sun to make their own food. Plants are called producers as they are able to produce their own food. Now the next term, if you have producer, then the next term will be called consumers. Now, who are consumers? We are the consumers. Why? Animals cannot produce their own food. They eat plants and other organisms to get the energy they need. Now for tigers, for humans, for goats, for cow, they get their energy by eating either other plants or other animals. So they are called consumers. When they can't make their own food, they are called consumers. So animals, in general, we call them consumers. Now, consumers can be split up into three groups. Now, eat plants only, eat animals only, eat plants and animals. Now, when we say eat plants only, means they are plant eaters. Eat animals only, animal eaters. Eat plant and animals, plant and animal eaters. That's what it means, okay? Now, previously we learned about predators and prey. So, animals that hunt and feed on other animals are called predators. Remember, if the tiger eats the chicken, the tiger is called a predator. Okay? Now, then what about the chicken? Yes, you got it right. Animals that are being hunted and eaten are called the prey. So if tiger eats the chicken is actually the prey. All herbivores are prey, means plant eaters are prey. Now, why are all plant eaters prey? Now, they eat only plants. If they eat only plants, remember, what are predators? Predators are animals that hunt and feed on other animals. Means tiger eats chicken. Chicken is an animal. So that's why tiger is the predator. But a cow, a goat, they eat only grass. So they can't eat other animals. So that's why they are always called a prey. All carnivores and omnivores are predators, however, they can also be the prey of other carnivores and omnivores. Now, what do I mean by that? I give you an example. Just now we talked about chicken. Chicken is a prey when the tiger eats the chicken. Now, when the chicken eats earthworm, then chicken is now the predator, earthworm is now the prey. Okay? So that's why sometimes the role can change. A predator can become a prey. Okay? Now let's take a look at this chart here. Now, we are referring to predators and prey. Now, plants is eaten by, remember this arrow means eaten by. So, plant is eaten by herbivore or omnivores. Now, is herbivore or omnivore is eaten by carnivore or omnivore. Carnivore or omnivore is eaten by carnivore or omnivore. Now, what do I mean by that? Now, meaning a plant can be eaten by a plant eater. It can also be eaten by a plant and animal eater. Now, in turn, is either eaten by an animal eater or plant and animal eater, which is in turn eaten by another animal eater or plant and animal eater. Predators often kill the weak and sick animals. Now, in our previous video, we mentioned the sick, the weak are the ones that are often killed because they can't run fast enough. The adult and the young are the ones that usually can survive. Right now, by killing the prey, predators control the number of prey in the community. Now, what do I mean by that? Now, if a predator eats the prey, they control the population size of the prey. Okay? If the numbers of prey gets too big, there will not be enough food for all the prey to feed on. Previously, we learned before. Now, when the number of prey keeps increasing, they will start eating the grass, for example. And then the population size of the grass will start to decrease, leaving insufficient food for the prey. So what will happen to the prey? The prey will either die of starvation or they will start to move to another place, another habitat, right now, okay? Where there is an abundance of food and water. Remember, when there is a shortage of food and water, then the population size of the prey will decrease. Now let's take a look. The number of predators in a community is in turn dependent on the number of prey. When the number of prey decrease, predators will have less food, thus their numbers will decrease. I mean, this is logical. When we have a small population size of prey, let's say we talk about chicken, then the number of tigers will also have a very small population size. When we have more chickens, okay, the population size of chickens is great or huge, then the population size of the tiger will be slightly greater as well, okay? When a plant is eaten by an animal which is in turn eaten by another animal, we have a food chain. Let me give you an example. A food chain shows the food relationship between different organisms. Let's take a look. Now, plant is eaten by the caterpillar, which is in turn eaten by the bird. So this is called a food chain. It must always begin with a food producer and ends with the last consumer. The last animal in the food chain is usually a consumer. The caterpillar eats the leaf of the plant and the bird eats the caterpillar. In a food chain, energy is transferred from one organism to another. Previously, we learned energy. We said energy cannot be created or destroyed, but it can change from one form to another. In this part of the topic, we also talk about energy transfer. Energy can be transferred from one organism to another organism to another organism. The energy stored in the plant is passed on to the caterpillar and then to the bird. The energy in the plant is passed on to the caterpillar when the caterpillar eats the plant. And then of course the energy in the caterpillar will be passed on to the bird when the bird eats the caterpillar. Remember, the arrow is called eaten by. So how do we read this? Plant is eaten by caterpillar, which is in turn eaten by the bird. Okay?